Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is a quick preview slash prediction, I guess, for a fight that goes down on the undercard of Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol 2, which of course goes down this weekend, 22nd of February in Saudi Arabia. The fight in question is Joshua Buatsi versus Callum Smith, and the WBO interim light heavyweight title is on the line. So essentially, the winner becomes a mandatory contender for the winner of Bivol Beterbiev. And it's a fight I'm somewhat looking forward to a degree. Buatsi goes in as the favourite. He's younger, he's unbeaten, fresher, and you would assume more motivated, right? Whereas Callum Smith, he's older, had a lot more fights, he's been a world champion, he's earned good money in boxing. This really is his last chance saloon. And for me, in regards to Callum Smith, it's whether this is just one last payday, or it's whether he actually wants to continue and still has ambition. But he's definitely seen better days. Callum Smith in recent years has been relatively inactive. A couple of losses as well, lost to Canelo Alvarez a few years ago, in a fight where, for me, he never really let it all hang out. More recently, he got stopped by Artur Beterbiev, challenging for the light heavyweight titles. In that fight, I actually felt he came to fight, but he was just outgunned, outmanned, and quite frankly outskilled, eventually getting stopped in the mid-rounds. So yeah, what does Callum have left? I don't really know. What desire does he have left? Not sure. But the only reason I'm somewhat looking forward to this fight is, if Callum Smith comes into this fight with ambition and he has something left, I still think it's a dangerous fight for Buatsi. Now, I think Buatsi has attributes that rightfully make him favourite, I would say. And I mainly make him favourite based on where he's at in his career. Like I said, being fresher, being more hungry, probably being more confident at this stage. But even stylistically, he does things that, in my opinion, can definitely give Callum some trouble. When you're on the inside with Callum Smith kind of shells up. He kind of tucks up. He'll throw the odd shot here and there, but Callum Smith is susceptible to being outworked on the inside. We saw him get bullied by Beterbiev up close in his most recent loss, but also before then, you look at his fight with John Ryder, for example. John Ryder, when he was stuck to his chest, Callum Smith couldn't really deal with John Ryder. Now, Buatsi is a much different fighter to Ryder and obviously Beterbiev, but on the inside, Buatsi is a bit of a buzzsaw. He changes levels quite well with his punches, body to head, head to body. He mixes his combinations up quite well. Good crooked arm punches. Maintains a decent work rate up close. So the longer Buatsi, the longer he's on the inside in this fight, I think this fight favours him more, because ultimately I see him just outworking Callum Smith. Again, I don't think Callum Smith is a great inside fighter, both offensively and defensively. Callum Smith needs leverage to punch, and when you're on his chest, I think his power is negated. Callum Smith has a decent straight right from the outside, which carries decent power, but his money punch, as we know, is that left hook, and that is a very good shot catching you coming in. Callum Smith's best chance in this fight resides with timing, and in particular, timing that shot. Buatsi does take risks. He does take risks to get close to you. Defensively, at times, we have complained or criticised Buatsi. In numerous fights of his, he's been tagged up. His last fight with Willie Hutchinson was able to have a fair bit of success in that fight, and maybe even slightly buzzing Buatsi a couple of times. You look prior to that, his fight with Marco Kalic way back in the day, the long straight punches of Kalic were giving Buatsi a lot of trouble when he was on the outside. It's when he crossed to the inside was where he got his best work done and eventually broke down Kalic. And it was similar with with Willie Hutchinson, Buatsi was just able to grind him down up close and outwork him and make it a rough fight. And that's what he does well. That's what he does best, in my opinion. Buatsi can box a little bit from the outside. He's got a good jab, which in my opinion he actually doesn't use enough because it is a pretty good jab. But from the outside, I don't think he is like any great shakes. I don't think he's anything special. And the longer he's on the outside, the better chance it gives Callum to land a big power punch. Whether that be the straight right hand, or whether he then catches Buatsi coming in with a left hook. And also, like, keeping Buatsi on the outside for Callum Smith will be good in regards to reserving his stamina, reserving his power. Because, Buatsi is the type of guy who can take it out of you if he's working up close on you. He's got that kind of war of attrition type of style. Like I said, that buzzsaw type of style on the inside, where he just keeps on working. And he gets dirty up close as well, let's be honest. He uses forearms, he uses shoulders sometimes, even the head at times also. He's got that knack of taking it out of you, hook or by crook. So yeah, for Callum, he needs to be keeping this fight on the outside and trying to time Buatsi with big power punches, essentially. But the issue for Callum Smith is in recent years, he's had this habit of just letting fighters walk onto him, basically, and close the distance without having to pay for it. Again, we look at the Canelo fight, we look at the John Ryder fight. These guys were able to just walk to the inside, without having to suffer the consequences. So in this bout, Callum Smith has to be far less passive. He has to give Buatsi reason to worry about crossing to the inside. To worry about trying to close the distance. And obviously that means counter punches. That means that left hook. Even the lead uppercut of Callum Smith is a half decent shot of his. For me, this fight's going to come down to whether Callum's got one last great punch in him. Whether his timing is still somewhat there. If it is, I actually think he's got a chance of knocking out Buatsi because, Buatsi's there to be hit. As I said, he takes risks. Defensively, he is porous at times, especially when he is chasing a fight or like maybe is a little frustrated, or he can't get his guy out of there. He does get frustrated. He does take risks, and the openings will be there. We've seen Buatsi get hit by far lesser fighters than Callum Smith, so the openings are going to be there. It's whether Callum can take them, and if he does take them, how does Buatsi deal with Callum's power? Callum can crack even at light heavyweight, as we've seen with some of his fights. And that's one question mark we don't know about Buatsi. How's his chin? Again, to me it looked like he was buzzed a couple of times by Willie Hutchinson. He was buzzed a couple of times. Even Craig Richards, got his respect on a couple of occasions, as did Bolotnick's. How good is Buatsi's chin? You look at Buatsi's career, and he's not really fought an elite puncher. Hutchinson maybe is a domestic puncher, but even Hutchinson, I felt his power was overrated. I don't think Buatsi's fought a puncher full stop. Callum can crack. That's the interesting factor about this fight, and with Buatsi's defensive deficiencies, I still give Callum a chance. If this fight was made 2 years ago, before Callum Smith fought Beterbiev, I would have picked Callum Smith by knockout. Now, I'm actually not so sure. Callum being 34, being at the end of his career, what does he have left? What does he want from the sport? That does play on my mind. But having said that, Buatsi hasn't looked amazing recently. Again, had a hard fight with Willie Hutchinson. Had a relatively hard fight with Dan Aziz. Had a relatively hard fight with Craig Richards. These are all domestic level guys. Callum Smith, for all of his faults, has fought at world level. He has competed at world level, and at his best was certainly way above domestic level. Even now, I would argue that Callum Smith is probably the best guy Buatsi has fought. I'm not trying to discredit Buatsi, but for me, this fight is purely about what Callum Smith has left. And listen, I think the smart money is Buatsi on points. I don't think he'll stop Callum Smith. And if this fight does go the distance, I think it's likely to favour Buatsi based on the work rate. So I do think the smart money is on Buatsi by points, and that's what my head is telling me to say. That's what my head is, telling me to pick. But I've got this weird feeling. I have a weird feeling. I see something, as Mikey Garcia would say. I'm actually going to go with the upset here, just to mix things up, and I actually do believe it could happen. And I'm going to go with Callum Smith by knockout. Not picking a round. I'm not picking a round, but I've got a weird feeling that at some point in this fight, Buatsi might walk onto one, and we'll truly see how good his chin is. I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt his chin. There's a reason he's not fought a puncher, in my opinion. But now the risk is worth taking because it's Saudi money. I'm just going to go with the upset here. Callum Smith by knockout. Probably going to regret it. If you're a betting person, smart money is with Buatsi points for me. But I'm going to go... Listen, I'm going to go Smith by knockout. I think Buatsi is a good fighter, but I'm not convinced that he's a million miles above domestic level. I'd say Buatsi is like European level. I don't think he's this world level guy. So, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Del Boy. Peace.